Hello, and welcome to the annual financial report workshop. This workshop is going to cover why we need an annual financial report, what we do with this report, what it is, how we use the information, and we're going to cover some of the main categories of the annual financial report, the important dates, and most importantly, we are going to talk about how to complete the annual financial report. So first, let's start off with the basics of the AFR. An annual financial report is used to gather chapter financial information, which we then use to complete the IRS Form 990. So a chapter treasurer is responsible for preparing and submitting this information. We request from chapters exactly what we need in order to compile the information to complete the filing. So some of the information that we collect includes very detailed information about income and then very detailed information about expenses. I would say especially about expenses, that's really the most important part. So why do chapters need to do this? This is a question we often get asked, like, why am I filling out all this information? Why am I giving you all of this? So this is the answer. The sorority is a 501c4 nonprofit organization. We're a tax exempt organization. So we are bound to IRS reporting requirements. So the requirements include reporting all activities of our affiliates, which is our chapters and our consolidated filing. So let's talk a little bit about a consolidated filing. So technically, each chapter is also a 501c4 organization and is a tax exempt organization, but we have a group tax exemption. So this means that our tax exemption as Omega Phi Alpha National Service Sorority includes all of the chapters which are also Omega Phi Alpha National Service Sorority. Many of our chapters, I would say the majority of them, have their own tax ID number. And this, they could file a 990 on their own if we didn't have a group exemption. But it's a lot of pressure for college students and especially a treasurer to have to complete IRS reporting requirements accurately. We hire a CPA to complete this information, and it's not inexpensive. So it would be a financial burden to our chapters to complete this on their own. So we do a consolidated filing so that chapters are not responsible for filing their own IRS reporting. And generally speaking, the IRS Form 990 provides the government and the public with detailed information about our finances and activities. And we're required to report that. Anyone can look up our annual filing to see what we're doing and how much money we're spending, etc. So on our consolidated report, we add all of the information for the chapters. So when all of our chapters submit, the answer to the question, what was your fundraising income? Like, we add together all of the chapters' fundraising income, and that is what we use. And then, when you have service program costs, that's a question that we ask. We add every single chapter's service program costs together, and we also add that to the national organization service program costs, and that's what we report. So everything gets added together from the chapters and the national organization. And we ask for your bank statements so that we can keep copies of your end of year bank statements so that we have proof of the numbers that we've reported. So we keep track of like your beginning balance, which is what you reported last year as your ending balance. And then we keep track of your ending balance for this year. And that helps us prove that these numbers came from somewhere. Let's talk a little bit about the categories. So there's two main categories, revenues and expenses, as you see on the screen. And for revenues, we track local dues income. On the national level, we track national dues income. And then we track donations. Same for the national organization. We track that as well. So everything you see here, pretty much we're tracking it on our end. So then we want to know your fundraiser income, your event income, and then money that you receive from the foundation or national. So just in general, this is OPA entities, because we have to report what money was received from the overarching organization. And then as always, there's a category for other. So if something doesn't quite fit into these categories, which we can talk about a little bit more in depth, then you can use other. And then for expenses, this is what we ask you for: service, leadership, sisterhood, recruitment. And recruitment also includes all P&M expenses. So that would be anything that you're spending for recruitment itself, bid day, and then also the new member process. And then many of our chapters make donations to others. So we ask you to include that. There's some IRS reporting guidelines that if you donate over a certain amount to another nonprofit organization, you have to have some paperwork associated and have to know like their EIN number. So we ask for this, and we ask you to list out how much you've given to each other organization, so that if you have given above the threshold, we can get the appropriate information from that organization to report to the IRS. Then we ask your convention and summit costs, and we ask about items to sell to members. So there's some reporting about like inventory. I know none of you are probably really keeping inventory, but this is sort of what we're talking about here. Like you're purchasing inventory and then you're selling inventory. So this doesn't include things that like you give your members because they paid local dues. Like if you pay local dues, you get a bid day t-shirt. That doesn't count. These are like things that you're purchasing as inventory and you're turning around and selling to your members. And there's a category for other materials. We'll talk a little bit more about what that is. Administration, I'll share a little bit more about what falls under administration. And then we have other, again, just because we recognize some things don't fit perfectly into a box. So let's talk about some important dates of the annual financial report. The first thing you should know is that the annual financial report is based on a fiscal year. So the fiscal year of Omega Phi Alpha is July 1st to June 30th. So the current annual financial report, you're reporting activity from July 1st, 2021 to June 30th, 2022. And we're in a new fiscal year, so we would call this fiscal year ending 2023. So the current fiscal year started on July 1st, 2022, and it will end June 30th, 2023. It's a little bit complicated based on our tax filings, but that is the activity that we're reporting. It aligns with the academic year. It's the best way for us to file our finances. So we set the due date of July 15th for the annual financial report. This allows time for you to get your final June bank statements and like your final financial information so you can complete a report for June. And we also ask you to do July 15th so that we have plenty of time to review all the information that you've submitted, to reach out to you if we have any questions or if there's discrepancies that we need to clarify. And then our deadline for the IRS Form 990 is November 15th. And it's been a really long time since we have filed on time. We do often file an extension. Filing extensions cost money, so we are working really hard to move away from filing extensions and filing on time. And if we are filing on time, then typically we have to give all the information to our CPA, I think like mid-September, early October. So that's why we really push for this information to be submitted and accurate by this time. Let's talk a little bit about how to complete the annual financial report. So there's a lot of information that you will need. You can see that here. You'll need bank statements for every single month in the fiscal year that you're reporting for. You'll need the beginning balance as of your July of the previous year bank statement. You'll need your bank and account numbers, and then detailed information about income and expenses. So sometimes we hear from chapters that they're not sure about this information. So we are sharing this so that you can begin tracking it. If it is not something that has been tracked in the past, please track it for this year. So we need the dollar amount of your local dues in each semester, how many people paid local dues at that rate, and then the total dollar amount of dues waivers that your chapter granted in each semester. You need all of your fundraiser income, all donations that were collected directly to your chapter, event income, And you need all of the same detailed information about expenses plus some. So the new annual financial report is on Airtable. We're going to walk through that. I did want to just say previously it was in Excel, and some chapters found that to be really helpful because they could kind of like update it month by month. And there were some pros to it, but there were a lot of cons to it, which was that we had a separate Excel spreadsheet with multiple tabs from every single chapter. So it was extremely complicated for us to put all this together. So with an Airtable, when you fill out the form, I feel like it's a little bit more user friendly. It's more intuitive. You can just type in, we ask you the questions, you type it in, you don't have to read like a full instruction sheet. We sort of explain it all to you. And then Airtable tallies everything up for us, so it makes it so much easier for the national team, especially our finance team, to provide the appropriate information. It probably will take about 30 minutes to complete, and you need to be prepared to complete the entire form at once. So it's really just wanted to let you know that that is how it works. So let's talk about an IRS Form 990 really quick. And then let's walk through what the Airtable looks like. So I'm going to show you what the 990 looks like. So this is the form that we filed last year. Well, this year for last year. So we divide everything. You can see we describe the organization's mission, and then we divide everything into these three main buckets. So service to the sorority, service to members, and service to the community. So service to the sorority is like administrative cost, management cost, any like advertising, like any type of operations of the sorority. So on the national level, this includes executive board meetings, volunteer leadership planning retreat, any administrative, like our contractors. We have myself as the managing director, and then we have Virginia as the administrative assistant, and we have some additional contractors. So all of those like salaries would be reported in administration, and then there are some other things that we would report here. So for chapters purposes, some of the things that they're reporting for administrative expenses are like the president's budget and, postage, PO box, like things like that get reported as administrative storage units. And then service to the members is so sisterhood and leadership program cost. So on the national level, we include the Chevron and the website, but on the local level, this would include like any leadership activities. This would include an executive board retreat. Well, actually, executive board retreat goes into the service of the sorority, but this would include like a chapter retreat. Any sisterhood activities that you do, all the costs go here. If you offer a leadership speaker that you pay for, that goes here. So when we ask you on your annual financial report to identify your sisterhood or fellowship costs and leadership costs, we add those together and put those in this category. And then service to the community is all of your service program expenses. And then you can see that we talk about the number of service projects and service hours that were completed. So you can see that we do expenses and revenue for everything. So, something that we've talked about a lot is that service to the community, like our service program costs are very low considering our sisterhood and leadership. So we've been working on really making sure we're spending more on service program costs, and we would encourage chapters to do the same. So the rest of it is not really that important, probably pretty boring if you don't have a desire to be a CPA someday. But I did want to share because I think it's helpful for you all to see like exactly what we are reporting. So now let's go through the Airtable form. I am going to show you what the form looks like. And we've been updating the form like as we have realized that there's some information missing. So it may look a little different to you. And we did receive some feedback when we had this workshop live at the Officer Leadership Academy to explain some things better. So we changed that. So you can see that we ask for your name, your email, your chapter, name of bank, checking account, and then we ask you to select your chapter from the dropdown because that will automatically enter the last beginning balance that you reported. So we ask you for your local dues, your members, and we describe what event income would be. And it's really important here for things like events and fundraisers to note that when you have something like a formal and you charge, let's say, $35 per person, you need to include all of the income. So it's not income less expenses, it's all of the income here. There's another area where you would put expenses. So I've noticed that some chapters are like, well, the income that we received, like the net income was this, but it's gross income that you would enter here. So it's not net numbers. We are doing the math behind the scenes to get those net numbers. You need to enter your gross event income. The same for fundraiser. This includes like literally everything that you've made from fundraisers. If you've had some expenses associated, you do not subtract the expenses from the income, you just put the income. And if you've collected donations for the benefit of other organizations, you would put those here. Specifically, what we're asking here is donations for other organizations that have cleared your bank account. And so if you're collecting cash or you're collecting donations directly for another organization, so say you have an event and you have a QR code and people scan it and they donate directly to the Humane Society, that doesn't count here. These are donations that your chapter collected. They cleared your bank account and then your chapter wrote a check to the organization or made a donation to the organization. So we just want to be clear on that this is like donations that you physically collected and clear your bank account, and then you pay out to the organization. If you select yes, that you made donations greater than $250, it will ask you to enter the organization, the amount donated, and the EIN. Again, I mentioned that earlier. That's because there are some reporting guidelines on if you make larger donations. And here's where we ask about OPA entities. So some of the money that you may have received from us this year, money from chapter awards, money received from chapter savings account, convention stipends, maybe some refunds, maybe you got some dues refunds, maybe you got service grants from the OPA Foundation, you would indicate that here. And if you say yes, we'll ask the dollar amount received and the individual transactions. So for other income, this is where you would include the income that you made on, or the revenue that you made on items that you sold to your members. If you have any interest income, like from your bank account or any other income that's not specified anywhere else, you would put that here. So this is the end of income. So at this point, all the income that you've had over the last year, fiscal year, should be accounted for. So if there's anything else that you're like, oh, well, we had this income and they didn't ask us, you should put that in other income. So whatever you enter in all of these is all of your income. And then when we get into expenses, we talk about your service program costs. So this is like the service director budget, the service project supplies. I mean, literally anything that you've spent on service directly would go here. So it's a variety of things. Some chapters, they buy supplies. Like an example would be that the national organization bought supplies for the Project Linus service project that we did at convention. So that would be included in our service project expenses. And then for leadership program, this would be, like I said previously, any cost associated with leadership development. So this could be chapter management costs, This could be a leadership training. It could be a space rental for an executive board meeting. It could be any cost associated with an executive board, like activities that you do. And then fellowship program is sisterhood. So this is how much your chapter spent on sisterhood events. So this could include the space rental or supplies for a sisterhood retreat, board retreats, sisterhood events, etc. So if you charged your members a fee to attend a sisterhood event, that is included in event income. Okay, so we're going back to that is not net. It's literally exactly what everything cost you. So this is exactly what fellowship programs cost you, not less the income that you received. So if you had a sisterhood event, like a retreat, maybe you rented a lake house for your retreat and it cost every sister $50 to attend. You need to put how much the chapter spent on renting the lake house, if you're providing food, any materials that you're providing for the retreat, all those expenses go here. Do not subtract the income that you are receiving. So I just want to be really clear on that. I know we've talked about that a couple of times, but I have noticed that some chapters have filled it out where it doesn't add up, and then they have notes that are like, well, this is total what it costs after our income, but that's not how this form works. So these are expenses. So then recruitment and P&M cost. Oh wait, I want to go back to sisterhood for a second because I want to talk about a couple other things that may be included here. So this could be expenses related to the space rentals, what we talked about. It could be any activity costs that you're doing, any food and beverage, and any alumni activities fall under sisterhood. So if you are doing any alum activities, like maybe you're doing like an alumni brunch or something like that, and you're paying a portion of it, or you paid to reserve this space or put a deposit down. All of the alumni activities would go under sisterhood. Some of our chapters really celebrate their Founders Day every year. They do like a little Founders Day event that goes under sisterhood, and any socials that you're doing, whether it's with another organization, whatever that looks like, you would include that under sisterhood. Okay. And then recruitment and P&M costs. So let's talk about that a little bit. So this is all expenses associated with recruitment. So if your local dues cover the cost of a recruitment and or a bid day t-shirt for members, the expense of ordering those t-shirts should be included under recruitment expenses. I kind of alluded to this a little bit earlier in the presentation that recruitment expenses and that local dues, like anything that you include in your local dues that you give to your members, is not included in items for sale to members. So this is the clarification time. So if you are including a bid day t-shirt as part of your local dues, the bulk order of the bid day t-shirts is a recruitment and P&M cost. It's an expense in this category. So it's really important to keep a really good track of these things so that they are calculated appropriately. If you incur any expenses associated with a new member process, you should include those as here. Any service project associated with recruitment that is also considered a project for active members, like you do a service project at recruitment and that's one of your 60% projects, those expenses with that service project should be calculated under service. So that's a little bit of a caveat for recruitment and service costs. So other things that could be recruitment and P&M costs are food for recruitment, decor, any supplies that you need specifically for recruitment. So this could be like a tablecloth for tabling, or brochures or postcards for tabling. Maybe it's a banner or a pop-up tent for your table if you are tabling outside. Those are supplies for recruitment. And then any bid day supplies. So bid day is a recruitment activity. So any supplies, again, going back to food, decor, all of that should be included here under recruitment and P&M. If you print new member manuals, if you order new member pins, if you purchase anything for your P&Ms as part of their dues, like if you buy them a jersey or you get them a little tote bag or whatever, all of that should be included under recruitment and P&M costs. And then fundraising costs. So if you are doing a fundraiser and maybe you have prizes like for a raffle, maybe you're having a fundraiser where you had to purchase some food or some beverages, maybe you purchased some things at like a wholesale price to resell materials, maybe you like needed some decor or something for a fundraiser, maybe you had to rent something. All of that would be fundraising expenses, and you would put that here. So again, you have fundraising income, which is all of the income. The expenses are here. We don't subtract the expenses from the income for the purpose of this report. For convention and summit, you can include all expenses that are incurred by the chapter for either of those events. For convention, it includes everything: registration, flight, etc. I think we've pretty much covered items purchased for sale to members, but we'll just note again that if you are making bulk orders of merchandise and then you're selling it to members, that would be included here. So I often see on like the Rose Shop Exchange Facebook group that chapters will post their t-shirt and ask people if they want to order it. So when you do that, whatever people are paying you for the shirt that you're ordering is income, okay? And the order itself, when you place the order cost goes here. So again, for the purpose of this report, expenses and income are completely separate. And then other materials and supplies. So this could be, you know, homecoming. If your chapter participates in homecoming and you purchase supplies for a float or any other things for that, I would say that goes under other materials. If your chapter gets composites taken, that would be under other materials. Basically, anything that we didn't ask you about here goes here. And then administrative expenses, I mentioned this earlier, but this includes chapter maintenance, whatever that is. If you order like professional name tags for your members that they wear at events, that would go here. If you have a storage unit that you pay for monthly or annually, that goes here. If you rent a PO box for your chapter, or if you have to pay the university a fee for your on-campus mailbox. If you have postage cost, maybe you're mailing letters to your alumni or cards or invitations to something, that would go here. And then any marketing materials or publicity materials that are not associated with recruitment. And some of our chapters have to pay dues to the university or Greek life or student orgs or student government, whatever it is, that would be included under this administration expense. And if you have any expenses that we didn't talk about, then that would go here. One thing that I thought of when I was thinking about other expenses is some of our chapters have like Mr. Sisters or Omega Men. And if you have any expenses associated with that, like if you buy them the pins, the Omega Man pins, or you buy them a gift or something, that would go here. And then finally, you enter your ending cash balance in your bank account. So this is the ending balance right now on your June 2022 statement. And then we ask you to upload PDF files, and then if you want to enter any notes. So this is what the annual financial report looks like. So if you have any questions about the annual financial report that were not answered here, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And ask the questions that you have. You can reach out to myself, which is managing director at omegaphalpha.org, or you can reach out to finance at omegaphalpha.org. Taylor, the chapter health manager, is happy to help you as well. So please feel free to reach out with any questions or concerns that you may have about the annual financial report. We're currently reviewing the annual financial report for last year, or for this past year, and we are reaching out to chapters as appropriate. And again, we are just really here to help. So please utilize the resources available to you and ask for help when you need it. Thank you.